Hello, Tony. You all right?
Good. Yes, I thought we might speak over each other, but instead we just maintained silence at the same time, which was quite an interesting way to open.
Yes. Well, we'll work it out, I'm sure, about not talking over each other and making it flow and so on. Well, 2 days a big day, isn't it, for people involved in academia or in schools around the
I
country?
thought you were going to sing the Oasis song, man. Today is going to be the day.
They've got
Today,
one. They
yes.
got one about GCSEs.
They're going to throw it back to you. By now, you should have somehow realized what you got to do. But do they realize what they've got to do, having received their results?
Well,
You know?
the fact you're asking that question probably means that you've got a bit of an opinion on it. What do you reckon? Do they know what they've got to do?
Well, for a lot of them, the ones that I tutor, it will determine whether they got into their first choice sixth form or yes, college or school. Um, so you need like there's a barrier to entry for some sixth forms attached to particular grammar schools around this area in Stroud, like Marling, Stroud High. Pates has the highest barrier to entry, therefore, requires they base it on the top eight results and like how many points you get. Um, so for Pates, it would be like 60, 64-ish, 63, somewhere around there. So eight eights, to get in. For Marling, Stroud High, it's more like 50, 53 maybe, 48 maybe, somewhere around there. If you're an existing student, the barrier is a bit lower than if you're an incoming student. So they sort of prefer the students who've been at the school um, long term over the incumbent, like ones from elsewhere. Um, so they get first dibs on places. So yeah, so that seems to be from a GCSE exam results point of view, that's the next steps because they continue into sixth form mostly. Although there still are possible routes into apprenticeships, I suppose, for some students and more vocational courses post 16.
Yeah, yeah. But then once you got that, you decided that if you are going to continue at school, then it's which subjects, I suppose, as well. But,
Yeah, which with my own daughter number two still a question mark because she wants to do, or she was wanting to do, whether this changes is to be seen. She was wanting to do Spanish and geography A levels, and if they're blocked together, that makes timetabling an issue. But we're still in the grey zone because the school has to work out based on who's applying to be in there, based on having the sufficient grades, who's taking the place, and then meetings have to be held to then work out how timetabling can then be pinned down, which takes a bit more work. So we're not there over the line with my own daughter yet, and there's also the question around are students going to be um, asking for remarks for
yeah,
their papers if they're close to that boundary. Um, like if they're a grade seven and they're close to the grade eight, do they get the papers remarked? So first of all, we have to get the transcripts emailed to my daughter or whoever is requesting the remark. You look at the transcripts, you send that to the teacher. The teacher gives a yay or nay. Um, it's worth pursuing the remark or not. You pays your money, you get your remark, you see what happens. That's kind of the process.
mm. There's gonna the timing will become an issue then because all these institutions are awaiting the next batch. The incoming students are uh, gonna be they're gonna have to draw a line in the sand at some stage and say, right, this is when you've got to achieve the grades, and can't
Yeah,
imagine that's easy.
yeah. Presumably they have to say like, well, yeah, well, we're going with the first grade that you got, even though the remark has boosted your grade one. We have our own time constraints. There's probably a fact that factors in as well, doesn't it, as to whether students get places or not.
Yeah, yeah. I think the remarks are handled pretty quickly. I know that my experience is largely A levels, and I think that they within a week one would expect it, probably quicker. I know that from the point of view of an examiner, as an examiner, um, I'm just at the bottom level of it, the exam marking. But once you're a team leader or higher up the ladder, then you get the opportunity to do the remarks, and I think the payment is better, and I think the pressure is also on to turn it round quicker. So obviously
You
there
get
is,
more money if it's an expedited remark. Is that how it works at A
I
level?
believe so, but they haven't seen fit or seen the need to knock on my door yet for said purpose. But
You're not high enough up the examiner ladder yet.
no, yeah, they asked me if I wanted to be a team leader. I said no. So
Oh, that would be why then.
it's yes. Well,
How high up the ranks do you wish to float?
well, as yet, I decided that the timing. I'm too conscientious about doing things, or it takes me a long time to make up my mind, and therefore, I did not see that the extra time that I would have to give to basically calling the shots on other people's decision making
Hmm.
would be justified, adequately rewarded, and so on. So, although
And
obviously,
something you ultimately actually want to do.
yeah, yeah, is it? I want to understand how the exams are marked. And talking about remarks, I have a tutee who was 4 marks off an A star and is wondering whether to get that remarked. 4 mark for the whole economics qualification, A level,
Mhm.
and if you're 4 marks off it, it's really almost luck of the draw. I'm not sure how much it is. Is it £50 for a remark or 100 or
Close to, yeah, I glanced at the bits of paper around the school just now this morning, having walked across with daughter number two, and
yeah.
it's £45, I think, 45.50 maybe
Yeah.
for a remark per paper for GCSE.
Oh, per
Um,
paper. So three
I
papers,
think so. I think
you
that's what it is.
pay the
Yeah.
job lot.
So that adds up if you're,
Mm,
remarking multiple papers, but it's probably worth it for peace of mind if you've got a bit of cash on hand
yeah.
to have clarity. But like you say, for some subjects, it might be more subjective than for other subjects.
Very much so. The margin that is given to determine whether or not a marker's efforts are accurate enough is basically 4 out of 25 on their say, that being 16%
Yeah.
on a whole paper. So the student, my tutee, who is wondering whether to remark or not, I think with 4% out, on reflection, having had this conversation, I'm thinking that I will say, yeah, if you've got the cash, go for it, because an A
Yeah.
star would make a higher, a bigger name university more accessible. I think would allow access
Is
to
this
that.
particular student having a gap year anyway, or are they wanting to go in September to their first choice university?
I think it's this September. I haven't spoken to them.
Mm,
I've just exchanged emails a couple of times, and
mm.
I think probably when we're finished, I'll go back and say, yeah, I recommend a remark. Although,
Yeah.
it is a bit, obviously it's a bit of a punt, but
Hmm.
getting top grades. I mean, I think it would give it would give a significant boost, and I think it would get into some higher tariffs for universities. So
So you need to probably get the transcripts back, which is a free service across exam boards. It seems to be free for GCSE. It's probably the same for A level, is it? It's
I'm not sure that it is free. I think getting the papers back, I thought there was a charge, but again, that's something to check.
it's free for GCSE transcripts, so I
Yeah,
don't see why it wouldn't be for A level transcripts as well.
yeah, fair.
Um, but then the clerical error is the cheapest option. It's like if they added up the marks wrong, that sort of thing. That's only £9.50 apparently, and if it's a complete remark, that's the more expensive version. Um, uh, the way they play it at my daughter's school is get the transcript back, email it to the teacher. Teacher makes an assessment. Is it worth remarking? Because in their opinion, it should have a higher mark, and that would take them above the boundary. And then do it and see what happens. Whether to remark all of the papers or just one of them in a targeted way is probably another question, isn't it?
Yeah. Um,
The one that's most likely to be upgraded
the
is
most
probably,
subjective, I suppose, if there are some sort of short answer and longer answers, I think the longer answers are going to be more open to interpretation. So
yeah.
that
So it's more expensive if you're remarking three papers versus one.
mm,
And I guess marks could go up or down on any of the papers as well.
yeah, they can. Yeah, I've not over time in terms of remarks, I found that probably a quarter, maybe 20-25% of students do get an improvement in the marks, so it makes it a punt often worth taking. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it has to be on an individual case by case basis. But for A-level economics, I think again reflecting on what we've said, paper three is 30 out of 80 was there. I mean, like 45% or so, 40 odd percent uh
37.5%. Yeah.
is what?
37.5%, three
Thank
eighths.
you. Thank you, Mr. Maths. So the 37.5% is multi-choice in paper three, whereas for papers one and two, it's only 10 out of 80 would be short answer, and the rest is extended answer. So that makes papers one and two more worthwhile remarking. So I will. When we finish this discussion, I'll get onto my student and pass that on. So that's
Yeah,
that's
they won't have
valuable.
the transcripts probably until tomorrow, or it's fairly quick to get the transcripts emailed through to their preferred email address once the requisite form has been filled in and the request sent. That's the process. That probably my own daughter's doing for GCSE, and I'll have to pay. Um, just for two subjects, I think, where she was close to that boundary. So yeah, that's a game that a lot of people are playing nationally with GCSEs and also with A levels right now because I think it's a month, a calendar month that they have to get those requests sent, and um,
What so decisions, meaning that decisions on the sort of the incoming students will be made.
um,
No, it's
so
it's
the
past October
21st of September, I saw that deadline
for remarks.
for these remarks and things to be asked for, and after that date, it's no longer possible to do
But it's
that.
water under the bridge, isn't it?
At that point, it would be too late
Mm,
to get into, university. So that's why
it's got to be in the
um,
next week, really,
it
I
has to be
think.
pretty quick, doesn't it? Turnaround, yeah.
Yeah, I will get onto my TUT fairly
Is that
soon.
for economics, this duty? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the main part of that I've done a bit of business tutoring and some other stuff, I suppose. But
Mm,
I'm an economist, really. I think I'm trained for
yeah.
that, and it's my
Mm.
area of interest and experience to a large extent. Um, yeah, a couple of points. I mean, regarding results is grade inflation and the benefits of
Mm,
tutoring. I'm not sure if there are
mm.
either of those points that you think would be worth exploring.
Yeah, the whole grade inflation idea. Yeah, we sort of saw over the years grades improving over time for A levels and GCSEs. until then COVID hit and schools closed and online tutoring became more common. Um, and schools had to deliver some sort of online material for students to carry on learning because they were at home. Um, and then there's sort of an idea that maybe the exams were made more accessible and easier, given all of that missed learning. That's maybe something we should discuss.
Well, there's that, but also the actual grade decisions in, I think it was 2020 or 20, yeah, during the sort of
Yeah,
heaviest time of COVID, they
the
were
schools got to decide their own students' grades,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
and so we had um,
Suddenly there was a spike in
oh,
performance, like
hugely.
peak, like everyone does well all of a sudden. Everyone gets the medals.
Everyone's a winner, babe. It's
Oh yeah, do you want to
impossible.
sing that one? Don't, 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 don't.
Oh, yeah. Isn't
No,
it
that's a
very
different one.
falsetto?
Everyone's a winner, baby.
Oh, you
Yeah,
you
that's the one.
you do the singing. You can be in charge of the singing. You can be up on it. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that we had something like 30 students, or maybe it was a quarter. We gave something like 8 A stars out of maybe it's 30 or 40 students. It might have been a 20%.
Was that historically amazing results that suddenly
No,
happened
no,
just
we
overnight?
based
Or
it. We were fortunate that the year before we had a strong year, and so
yeah,
we continued. We had a very strong year, and so we took the opportunity
hmm, be careful
uh,
how you word this.
to assume that uh, the then latest batch would maintain the high standard set the previous year,
There
and
was something about like his, yeah, looking at the year before came into the algorithm, wasn't
yes,
that right? Like the way that the
oh, it was
Department of
legit. It was
Education,
legit. We weren't
yeah,
fudging it.
made you accountable based on
Yeah.
the previous year's results. And a lot of schools complained on the basis that that wasn't fair to them because that, previous year ain't a good indicator always for this year.
I hit lucky. I remember the students who I remember students getting 25 out of 25 in the previous year on essays. One Chinese lad who I was amazed that
Hmm,
someone whose native language is Chinese writing an essay to convince people at that level. And he was never a particularly strong student, but I mean, he got 25 out of 25 on an essay on the finance sector, I remember, in
right.
UK economy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I so we did hit lucky in that, but
Hmm,
I know that some schools did, or some in every school really took advantage
yeah. Yeah.
to help themselves
Yeah, it
as
was commented on in all the national newspapers here that suddenly there's this big jump in A star and A grades and pass overall, statistics post
they have
COVID.
pulled it back though. It's pulled back now. It's certainly
Yeah,
um
yeah,
but
it's gone back down steadily to more of a
yeah.
plateau, hasn't it? I
But
don't know what the headlines are like for presumably if I go
slightly
to,
down on last year, I think, for
is
A
that right?
level. Yeah,
For
from
A
my
level.
understanding. Where
I
it
don't know what it's like for GCSE yet.
yeah,
I haven't seen the headlines at this point.
no. I'm checking in the papers this morning. I didn't see anything as yet, but I mean I haven't done that recently. Yeah, in the last hour or so. Um, but the thing about grade inflation is that, and certainly when I was at school, historically, as this is, uh, under 10% of students got an A grade in A levels.
Hmm.
And I think that has now, I mean, obviously an A grade, it's something like what, 20%, 30% now? Probably 20% A grade.
And presumably that's also based on
And then A star on top of that.
fewer students even doing A levels in your time compared to now, where it's kind of much more common to do A
Yeah,
levels, just like it's more common to go to university. Maybe there's
yeah,
there's
yeah.
that. So you're talking a smaller percentage of a smaller population of students that got the A grade. So that's an even more significant grade
Yes.
inflation.
Yeah, I mean that's that does clarify it, I suppose, or that is of importance
I'm
because
wondering if I mean, it is a
yeah,
smaller population, but proportionally, um, vocational versus academic, that's the question there, isn't it, in sixth form? When my dad went to school, there was like technical training college, and there was A levels. And yeah, so fewer students did the A levels in his day, and there were more people doing the vocational route, maybe.
yeah.
Um,
I did a work experience thing at NatWest Bank for 6 months, and out of the people I worked with there, that was the sort of regular career entrance as well as the work experience people like myself. Only myself and one other person had got A levels, and the other person had got two E's at A level, and uh, she considered herself to be somewhat academic,
yeah,
um, which it's a different world, just a totally different world now.
with fewer places being taken up at university, and then that changing to, is it now more than 50% of students go to university?
That
And
was the
yet,
aim.
and yet, we have a picture of universities closing down as a result of decisions that have been made. And also probably it's an economics thing, right? The universities just can't sustain themselves. There's this £9,000 per year, um, payment that has to come from the student somehow, from the parents or the students themselves. Um, so a 3-year degree costs £27,000, whereas in my day it was £1,000 a year was the fee. That's 1998 when I went to university. Can you remember what it was when you went to university? Was it free?
Yep,
Yeah,
free. It was, I mean, totally different world. I mean, I was at university 1984 through 1987, I believe,
that
and
was LSE. I was at uni 1998 to 2001. That was Cambridge.
yeah, um,
Um, More
and
expensive now.
yeah, at that stage, we were. I feel a bit guilty talking about it almost, but the fees were paid, and we don't know what the fees were, but the government paid it, and we'd also get a grant of depending on parental income,
Yeah,
you would get something like up to 3,000. It then was £3,000 a year. I think it was was it a
like a
thousand
living
a term?
allowance,
Yeah, for a
a
living
grant
allowance,
for, yeah.
which basically paid for my accommodation and food in London.
Nice. Yeah.
And so yeah, everything was paid for. I mean, God only knows why I
That's a
didn't
grant
learn.
that didn't need to be repaid.
Yeah, it
That's
wasn't a
just a,
grant. It was a gift, like
right. Yeah.
you, well, sorry, grant. It wasn't a loan. It was a grant, a
It
straight
was
up
a
grant.
grant in that
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, the people were professional students. Then they just get like do
Yeah.
course after course, and it makes me wonder why I didn't do that. I mean, I did want to go out to Asia and learn Chinese and sort of hit the big world kind of thing, rather
Yes.
than be uh, stuck in studying. But
Yeah.
I I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the value of it then. So
So are we returning to a world where fewer students, a lower percentage of students go to university, given the landscape, university landscape of, um,
I think the forces of economics will push
yeah,
in that direction. They have to.
yeah, right.
Um, and I mean, 50%, it's partly the sort of different learning style, different sort of skill sets and mental attributes and so on that are all people suited for academia. I mean, I think that's one reason that impacts on me. I found it hard to focus, and when I was at university, I was easily distracted, and I think that there are people who could have got more benefit from it than I did, but because I fortunately was able to do okay in the exams and so on, even if
Yes.
you found it hard to study. But
So this
it
grade
cannot.
inflation question that we started with
Yeah,
suggests to me that three A's from 30 years ago is worth more than three A's now. Would that because of the
well,
the
you got A
lower
stars
percentage of
now.
students who, and you also, yeah, maybe three A stars is equivalent to three A's from back then. How do we, it's still got the same label, A level.
I
Um,
think from my understanding, the when I got two A's and a B. I got AAB, and I think that in what 1983, and I would have thought that would uh, relate to sort of A star A today.
hmm,
That's my gut feeling. It's just that everybody said, yeah, everyone's a winner, and you can sing it again if you want, but you already did that. And
go
if
get the
everyone,
guitar.
well, there's a guitar over there, but anyway, uh, yeah, the it was decided that it would be of value to that people were deserving of higher grades, and so over time the grades got pushed up to the extent that I think they were sort of rather than the 8% A grades like when I took it, or under 10% certainly, then
Hmm,
it um, it went up to well over 20% A grades, and then they had to
mhm.
introduce A stars. Was it in 2010 or so? When did A stars come in? I was in Asia, so I don't know. Um,
Yeah. Was it more recent than that? I'll do a quick search in the background whilst you carry on
yeah,
discussing this topic.
so the grades got inflated or devalued to the extent that they just had to put another level in on top, which is A star. And it's so that the actual value in real currency of
Yeah, you're
the
correct. It's 2010.
oh wow, that's
Whereas it was 1994, which is why I got the A stars at GCSE. That was the GCSE thing. And I think it was 2017 or 2018, around there, that we had to change the GCSE
or the
system to have the
987
numeric,
stuff.
the 9 to 1 system instead of the letters. So
Yeah,
that's another big change. But
yeah,
again, it's an increase in the number of categories available. Um, for GCSE grades, if you've got nine down to one.
yeah. Well, we were told that a nine or an eight. Oh, hold on. So it was A stars, and a nine or an eight was the equivalent of an A star, and a seven was
Yes,
an A. So
yes.
I don't
And a
know.
six is a B, a five is
Yeah.
a C.
Mm.
And the government were trying to say that five is a pass, and then eventually they got squeezed, and okay, so four is now a pass.
Yeah.
There was a conversation around where the pass mark should be for GCSEs.
Yes. I wonder, can we draw parallels or comparisons? I mean, are students getting better educated or less well educated, or is it much of a muchness? Have you got any view on that with all the sort of messing around with grades to try and make everyone a winner? Or
Yeah, I think it's easier to compare within cohorts than between cohorts. You can see trends, let's put it that way. You can also, I mean, specifications for subjects change over time. So what's being tested to some extent has to change over
yes,
time as they bring in new material based on findings in science, and mostly in science. In maths, that's also true that they try and upgrade the skill set at GCSE so they can improve the A level content and make it a bit more moved on as well. So there is that, you know, 50 years ago, it's it's probably more about rote factual memory in biology in particular. Now they're trying to make it more applied and make it more like, okay, so you've got some learning, now you need to apply it. But at the same time, they've tried to make the exams fairer in the sense that they're not using ambiguous language. So that's probably also true across subjects, that the phrasing, the English used in asking questions is a little bit more complicated. Um, Historically. and a little bit more open to interpretation and more confusing than it is these days. And they've mandated that it has to be an accessible form of language now. So yeah, it's changed in different
Some would see that like
domains
dumbing
as well.
down, though.
Well, yeah, some would, wouldn't they? Yeah,
Yeah,
it
which
becoming more accessible and reading more clearly could be seen as dumbing down, but it could be seen as more clearly communicated, and
I
that's
say
something to aim for.
it's removing one aspect of the test, which which would previously have been, do you understand the question? Can you get the intricacy or the nuance to it? Whereas now, here it is, made much clearer. We are purely testing your ability to answer it rather than your ability to interpret, or to a greater extent. So that's my
Which probably segues into another thing we were discussing before we came on, which was access arrangements and how what percentage of students have extra time or the ability to pause their exam and take a time out and come back again.
yeah.
Um, there's a trend in the direction of increased access arrangements with what was it? We saw what were
What's
the
the range?
statistics that we
15
were
to
just looking at?
25. 15 to 25% have 25% extra time, wasn't it? On
16.6 to 25.5% of all students have 25% extra time in uh, the UK public exams, GCSEs and A levels.
yeah.
And
I
that's
find that
up from
surprising.
7.9 to 14.6% a decade ago, 2016 to 2017. From that, so let's round it to the nearest integer, like 8 to 15 has changed up to 17 to 26.
Yeah, which is a significant increase. And I mean, take it back to your day. Did this exist? It didn't in mine. I as well. It may be just that so few people did it that we didn't hear about it. But I was aware of nobody getting extra time in exams, like end of in 1983 A levels. How about your day?
I think there was a provision, but again, we'd have to track back to the late 90s and see. I would imagine there'd be even lower, percentages for the extra time access back then, um, compared to, yeah, to now. So we're seeing, like, first of all, you're saying it didn't even exist. I'm saying it probably did exist, but it was very rare.
Yeah.
So it was increasingly common to the
Yeah.
point where we're nearly at a quarter of all students get extra time
Yeah.
of 25%.
Yeah, and how do you feel about that? Do you think that this is sort of overdoing it? Do
What's
you think it's being exploited?
the natural extension of this would be that AI does all the thinking for us and we don't no longer have to think at all.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of like the
Uh,
what do they call it? The drug games or the
oh,
assisted
the
game,
enhanced games.
the enhanced games. Is that what
Yeah,
you call it? I mean, is that where we're going? We need to measure ourselves with enhancement, whatever I don't know whatever we it takes to so everyone can be a winner.
enhancement. I'm not sure, is it enhancement or is it just giving more time to those who are challenged by their special educational needs, whatever they may be? It's improving access, isn't it, to the
It is, but
exam?
that was part of the test that you
Hmm.
had to learn. I'm sure that I had to learn to concentrate. And I mean, some some people it's easier for some than for others. Maybe I
Yeah,
came out for I was on the fortunate side of that equation, but
yeah.
it's
We're
a
seeing a
mind.
trend, whether or not it's right or wrong is kind of a separate question, I suppose, because this would be argued forcefully from the other side, wouldn't it? That well,
It's
this is
needed.
it's needed. It's a change in cognitive profile in our children. Um, we are getting increasing diagnosis of things like ADHD, autism. That's just the picture. It's being increasingly
Yeah.
recognized. What drives that is another question as well. Is there an overdiagnosis epidemic? Would be a like an one one question that you could also put, which is a loaded question. Um, but what's driving the increasing diagnosis of all of these mental health conditions? You could see the impact of technology, the impact of screens and attention, um, in social. So we've talked about this before, but we are going in a particular direction. And then what's the point of exams would then be the ultimate question. It's like, why do we have exams? What are they for?
Well,
Um,
this is where I was thinking. My thoughts were traveling and going towards the idea of you get your extra time in exams, and in the real world, you go and work, and I'm allowed to extra time. How does that work? Like, does it?
mhm.
The no one's going to give you more, time, or with. I don't know. How does it work in the real world that people are compensated? I mean, money is the way that people are compensated in the real world, and they're not going to give you 25% more money because you're 25% slower or whatever. Or
If you're more productive as a company, then you make more money generally. Productivity comes down to people having good time management skills and good
yeah,
quality of output, in a timely manner. Whether it's people doing that job or technology doing that job, it doesn't matter to the company at the end
true.
of the day. It's whatever increases productivity, isn't it?
True, but education, giving people 25% extra time is not going to make them any more productive. So is that education becoming less fit for purpose? I mean, again, it's what is the purpose of education?
What's the purpose of education? Yes. So, yeah, let's discuss that then. Why are we bothering to educate children? What
Well,
are we
very
educating them
good
for?
question. I mean, going back to the basics, and should we bother to educate people?
Or should we just leave it up to technology to educate them on our behalf?
That'll
And
come
then
later anyway. That's as
what
tutors, I think
who's
we're all
doing
aware
who's
of.
doing the educating? So humans are educating humans with the aid of technology, with the support of technology on the side for both tutors and for tutees and teachers and students, I suppose. There's always technology there facilitating education, now in the modern day. Back in your day, not so much, right? It was chalk and talk. It was long
Yes.
attention spans, chalk and talk, didactic teaching, and rote learning with application of rote learning to new questions,
Yeah. Yeah.
marking out the best students are able to do that better than anyone else.
It was learning how to think. I mean, it's always, as far as I'm concerned, education is always learning how to think. But it was we would be
Mm,
given uh, it would be largely rote learning, but from that we would be expected to put together a picture of cause and effect, which we would and a skill to explain that, to identify and explain that, and then we would
mm.
apply that to assess some to assess a question that was given in
So
exams.
education isn't about learning how to think alone, it's about learning how to learn effectively and then what to do with that learning
Mm.
in
Yeah, I
different
suppose
situations.
we
It's a
were
bit more meta, isn't it? It's a bit more like learning how to learn, and learning how to think, how to critically think, perhaps,
critical
um,
thinking. When I say think, I mean think critically. But yes, learning how to learn is
how to
important.
make decisions as part of it.
Well, that's how to think. I would think. I think it's an important point to distinguish between learning how to learn and learning how to think, because I took the learning as being just like at face value. You just had to sort of sit down and write it out repeatedly until using various techniques until it was stuck in my mind. And
Mm,
but part of that was understanding why and how.
yeah.
And then I found that the facts were less important than why and how. And then if one understood the why and how, one could recreate the facts, or the facts would stick in the mind because that framework um, existed, and the facts fitted it, or
Mm,
were logical, I suppose,
Mm.
as a result of that. So
So if we're pinning this down, I mean, part of the reason for doing exams is to show yourself as a capable chap, or would be the female equivalent person. I suppose we have to use
that
that word instead. A capable person,
that's
able to do the fulfill the requirements of a job description. So there's
yeah.
usually a job at the end of the path of education. Um, in your day and before, there was a job for life, and now that's not really the picture. We have an increasing need to be flexible and adaptable in the future. We don't really know what the future holds, and that's increasingly true. Um, so that's where the learning to learn, learning to think thing is maybe of, very real importance. But perhaps we're also missing the picture of interpersonal skills with the education here.
Yeah.
That we're referencing because talking to people, managing a household, managing finances, is that tested enough?
No, no, a lot of it isn't, but there's the practical sort of life skills that one needs to get by in a modern world, and I don't think that is adequately developed. But in terms of the intrapersonal um, skills and sort of working with people, man management perhaps, and so on. I think that is supported by the sort of the private schools can still claim to uh, have strength in those areas. Certainly, I mean, whether it's on a basic level of the contacts that you're meeting people whose parents prioritize education or in private school, that being both grammar and private schools, and or parents have been successful or financially successful in private schools, and just by being in touch with them.
Successful coming down to how much money you make.
That's
That's
money, which is the way it's
Yeah.
measured in the modern world. But I mean, there's
Mm.
I've encountered this kind of thinking that if you are financially successful, then that equates with ability. And I think private schools do that. I mean, it's the old school time network as much as anything. Maybe that's going to keep private schools going in the face of VAT and the other financial challenges that they face now. But yeah, education. So from a private, maybe they're giving a different version of education for private schools. It's that it's maybe life skills, maybe possibly confidence. I wouldn't say arrogance, but some might say arrogance at some of them, and
Yeah, there
confidence,
is that
man
public
management.
school confidence, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's like the identity as well of being part of an establishment that goes back many hundreds of years in some cases. The pride that comes from that, the sense of belonging and meaning to that
Yes.
tribe brings forth some confidence
And that
that
tribe runs the country as much
right.
as anyone does. So, does educate? I mean, that's the tradition of education. I guess you go to Eton, you get a good shot of being prime minister, or a better shot than you do if you went to
Mm.
like the local sort of state school. Um,
It's always the figure was always 7% of all education is private education. So the question is whether that will drop again because of the private schools closing down. We've both heard cases of private schools closing due to these VAT hikes and
true,
the
true.
charitable status thing becoming questionable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so we're going to see more closures of private schools, aren't we? With Labour in charge, there's no incentive for them to support private schools. They're invested in the state system more.
Yeah, well, they did say that the money from VAT would be pushed into the state education system, but then, of course, the counter argument is that those who
Closing private schools.
paying are freeing up resources for those who are state
And
educated.
also, when the private schools close, you know, we have to, as the taxpayer, pay for um,
Yeah,
the private,
extra burden on the state.
the extra burden on the state system.
Yeah.
Yes. So that would require more state schools to take their place.
And do we believe that the money from VAT for private schools is being ring fenced or hypothecated to pay for state education? And considering the fact that, if I can bring in a bit more economics, because I'm kind of moving economic-y on this, um,
Mm,
considering the fact that we pay more for debt, just paying the interest on our national debt, than we do for paying for state education, like primary, secondary education. It seems it's pretty
mm,
hard to believe that it's going to make any impact at all on state education, or that any more resources will be available, which uh,
sure.
which does undermine the focus of the whole thing. I mean, Scandinavian countries. I mean, was it Finland doesn't have private education, or they're very
Mm,
anti-private
yeah.
education. They're far more equal, and I see that as being an honourable aim. And
There's a much higher tax burden, is what that stems from. And
yeah,
everyone is invested in a common path, right? So
yeah,
if you get rid of private education completely, everyone's in the same boat. Um, and if you've got a higher tax burden, the state can invest more in that public infrastructure more strongly. Yeah, but we're not in that boat. We don't have that system in place. We've got a
I
lot of
don't.
history that,
Yeah.
that suggests that we're not heading in that direction.
And did we have a system that works? Again, I suppose the whole education structure of the education system is something worth looking into in greater depth. But going back to the like uh, when, as I said, when I did A levels, going back to that of the majority of people probably leaving school at 16 and just doing it as it was O levels then. Um,
Hmm,
But it does, yeah. It's I get suppose that is the purpose of education, and I think we should probably come back to that at some stage and really focus on
but
what is
yeah,
education for.
yes, yeah. Um, Yeah, I do strongly believe lifelong learning is important, and that's why I carry on learning, and that's why I keep reading and doing new things as well, learning new things to,
Yeah.
as you get older, that cognitive flexibility is something um, that you have to work at, I think. Otherwise, you become quite fixed in your both your worldview and your way of doing things, which
Yeah.
isn't very helpful when the world around you is changing, which it increasingly is.
Oh no, God, it's a struggle. I mean,
And
I'm
you will just get left behind in that
yeah,
situation if you carry on doing things the way you always have.
no, no. Again, that's learning how to think, isn't it? That's what education should be doing, setting us up to do, to keep up and to adjust, to be
Hmm,
Um, well, I suppose we're not meant to be reactive, we're meant to be proactive, aren't we? But at my advanced age, I know I'm having to I work on or try to continue to develop myself, like
hmm,
learning new things, and like herbalism. I've been learning about herbalism
nice.
or music. Trying
Hmm.
to the language of music is fascinating, I think, and that's something that I'm exploring. I mean, God, if again, I'd like to sort of under connect, I suppose, physics with music to the frequencies of
Yeah, I mean, maths and physics.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I find it of great value to keep looking at new
and
stuff.
and psychology because it's like it's stuff happening in the brain.
Yeah,
How do you hear it connects to so many things, music. Like yeah, even like social sciences, like the binding power of music for community, everyone singing together.
Mm.
There's something to be said for that, for mental health, just forming a group and all doing something together. Um,
Yes, yeah.
that there's,
I'm
that's
thinking
what
of
you get
it.
in schools as well, right? As a child, there's that communal ritual thing that you can't get in your own home staring at a screen.
No, no, the social, the communal part, as you say, it's that is uh, a key part component of education, which is
Mm,
overlooked, I think, by those who
yeah.
are homeschooling because the system's not supportive, or the system is so fallible that people think they will stay at home. But the whole social aspect of it would be a much under considered impact, I would have thought.
And we build up all of this technology on in our world and have to get used to it. But at the end of the day, it comes back to we are evolved apes. So, what's underpinning our biology is somewhat different from what we've constructed for ourselves using technology. And our brains can just about cope because of this cortex that we have and this ability to process information. But the living environment that we place ourselves in puts lots of demands on our biology,
Can we change
which
our nature
results in
quickly?
stress and obesity and mental health problems, and all of the things that
Yeah.
are emergent from
Yeah.
this new world that we've
Which education should be
constructed.
dealing with. But
We should, yeah,
is education dealing with it, and can we adapt quickly enough? I suspect not.
not if it's an exponential, rate of
No,
change. Yeah,
no.
so
So we've got to integrate those machines, haven't we? Got to get them implanted.
yeah, well, some would say so. Some would say transhumanism is the way forwards.
So it's the
Augmenting,
assisted games are where it's going, and the
yeah,
assisted
augmenting our,
augmented, is that it? Yeah.
yeah. Well, the enhanced games is using
Whatever
enhancements of any kind. It could be drug related, it could be training related, it could be
Oh, that Blade guy, the South
could
African
be
Blade
machine
runner.
related as well. Yeah, yeah. That's
He went,
Pistorius. Oscar
yeah.
Pistorius was the famous one. He also murdered his girlfriend and went to
Well,
prison.
that which was he famous for? He was a bit of a character all round, wasn't he? But did he
He was
get?
made internationally famous having done the bad thing, I would say. He was
Yeah,
famous
but I mean,
within athletics before that.
his spring-loaded running blades were pretty novel, and I think that didn't they get him like his 400-meter time wasn't it like competitive against the regular?
Yeah, he did run in some races, 400 meters, but never won against the world's best with his blades. He was in about 45 seconds, and I think the world record is low 43s right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so but I'm sure with the right sort of, robot powered legs, you can you can run faster than 43 seconds. Yeah, you can get exoskeleton legs, which give you more power. Um,
Yeah, but
I'm thinking,
you can't be battery assisted. It's got to be internally driven energy source, surely.
oh, I see.
Or
Okay.
could you get solar? Maybe if you're so, I don't know if that how that works.
If you are taking from your environment and
Yeah, I think that
powering your
that
legs using the sun or the wind,
I say
a
that's
sail, yeah,
a different
sailing
technology.
and yeah, I mean, we're getting into it's no longer biology, is it? This is now, um, you know, it's basically using a battery to get you around.
True, true.
But that's what we do. That's what we're doing right now. We're communicating using technology assisted means, and maybe we're still learning from it.
And this
So
is our new life. So should we not be
this
adjusting
is
our
how we stay in
thinking more
contact as well.
quickly?
This is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, ever since the telegraph, we go back, back in time to before we had technology. You didn't have any um, global communication system at all. So uh,
You're very
they,
localized. You only
yeah,
knew your village. You knew the people in your
yeah.
village, and you very rare. No, you went up to the big smoke, but sort of once in a lifetime or whatever.
using the power of horses, which is
Mm,
quicker than walking.
yeah, technology. It's all technologies, isn't it?
Exactly. So yeah, maybe we continue this discussion next time. What is education? We have discussed it quite a lot, and we've made some postulations and sort of given our own points of view, but we haven't really come to a conclusion. And I'm not sure we will anyway come to a conclusion of what education is for, because there are
Yeah,
different schools of thought, aren't there?
yeah. We'll come back to it. What we do need to work out is a system to stop me repeating myself because I'm pretty good at that. But or you perhaps even. But I've if as long as we can work on it to make sure we're not just sort of repeating the same stuff, I think it's of great value, yes, to look into it. So we'll probably maybe we can do some planning about which area and then
And people are unlikely to listen to our
podcast.
ramblings for the whole hour, so they might need reminding of what we've been talking about in the episodes that they've missed. And if they haven't missed them, they've maybe skirted over
And then they could
large
go
sections.
back, having been inspired by the latest thoughts slash ramblings. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. That's a saving grace, that is. Well,
I
okay.
would use technology to help us do that, though, because I'll find the transcript of what we've talked about and ask AI to help us identify
It
points of
would be both
repetition
sweet and
and
fitting.
flag them
Dulce
up.
et decorum est, although that's a bit morbid. But
A bit
anyway.
more Latin, throw that in.
Oh, we like some Latin,
Yeah.
don't we? We didn't do any Chinese today, but did we? I
Mm,
can't remember. No.
no, no.
It's always good, bit of language, isn't it? All sorts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that reminds me, I haven't done my German on Duolingo for today. See, I do live in a world which is technology enhanced.
how long's your
Um,
streak on that?
1,090 days. It's measured in days.
Well done. You proud of that?
Um, yeah, I suppose. It's not on my CV. Maybe it should be.
No. Well, I've been trying to do yoga as a streak. Like I've done it every day this year, every morning this year, which I feel is of value. But is it any more valuable than like trying to learn
And
a
if you haven't
language?
been measuring your streak, does it exist? And should other people be aware of this streak?
You philosopher, you. Like it's like
Every
if
aspect of our lives that can be measured should be measured and made public.
I thought you're getting like the tree falling in the forest and no one hearing it. Does it really
Oh, that's
fall?
another angle. Yeah.
But
But,
anyway,
I mean, I've got a wearable technology. I think my phone's listening to me and probably pushing my
I
YouTube
took
feed in the
mine off.
direction.
I got a bit bored of wearing it, but yeah,
You think it's not listening, but it might be.
oh God, yeah, Google. Well, Google joined in with my tutoring like a month or so back, which was quite entertaining, but not what I wanted.
It it
Not what my
joined in.
students paying for. Yeah, I do not know that one. Can you ask me again?
Oh yeah, my watch does that sometimes. It thinks I'm asking it a question, and I have to
Yeah.
turn it off again.
Yeah, the tutees
Yeah.
sometimes find that entertaining, or sometimes think that I should possibly not be having this technology intruding.
But we do need to be able to use technology because that's the world we live in, and there's a digital divide in the UK with the older generation who are less able to use technology. They're sort of at a disadvantage, wouldn't you say?
Very much so. Yeah, I
So
find
how
it.
you navigate technology is part of our education, definitely. You know, you can't avoid it.
I'm going to write that down. So, education for next education purpose,
Yeah,
including technology. Right, that'll be our next one.
yeah.
Next.
Maybe we should both do mind maps before our next episode. So yeah, oh, that's that bit, and that's that bit. We have our structures in place. Will our structures overlap? That's the next thing.
Does it matter? But we
Can we
should probably
communicate
talk.
effectively with each other,
We should probably talk with rather than talk at, I suppose. So yes, yes. Good
going with the
point.
flow?
Good
Yeah,
point. All right. Should we knock it on
we'll
there?
finish it there. We'll knock it
Yeah.
on the head and other such like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
knock it on the head.
I can say it's
Going,
okay.
going, gone like that.
Right. Has it gone? It still says it's been recorded on
It's
you.
not gone yet. Well, it will be
No.
gone
Oh,
soon.
that was you knocking it on the head, was it? Practicing doing
That
so.
was me being a judge. Or
Oh,
that's an auctioneer, maybe. I've got
yeah.
a
Sold.
gavel.
Oh, yeah, you were. You were selling. What were you selling?
I was selling Tony and William Tutoring podcast episode 8, going,
Go
gone.
on.